and you crack open a biscuit, and instead of tilting that gravy bowl up, covering them biscuits up, you just let the biscuit sit there.
But you have that going on. He's thinking about becoming a face and maybe teaming with Hogan and team. They're promoting Nitro, which we'll cover a little bit more here soon. Nitro starts next month. So this is a big deal. We're going to talk about this too. Vader and Paul Orndorff have that fight behind the scenes that you're right there for. And you have, I know, a few things you're going to add some color to about that fight. Orndorff's in flip-flops. And pretty soon Vader's out the door. Okay, he's going to head to the WWF. So a lot going on around this time period. But let's start with Clash of the Champions. That's the big event for August. And the match that I want to highlight here, we're not going to cover every single match, but it's the first one, and it's Sting and it's Hawk. And if you guys remember last month when we talked about it, Sting was facing Ming, Sting versus Ming. And in that match, Hawk kind of came out at the end, provide a little bit of assistance after the match was over so that Sting wouldn't continue to get beat up by Ming. He was kind of like the tough guy that kind of stood out there and helped after the match. Well, they turned this into a tag team match. And it's Hawk and Sting against Ming and Kurosawa. And I want to set the stage a little bit for kind of what's going on here with Hawk. Because, and Arn, talk to you a little bit about this. Hawk and Animal, legendary Legion of Doom, they've been split up for a while now, and it started at SummerSlam 92 in the WWF, where it gets messy. Hawk showed up to the event. For those that remember, no shape to perform. Vince moved them to the opening match, and after that, Hawk left. He goes to Japan. It's a big deal, though. Breaking up a team, Arn, like LOD, it's kind of hard to recapture the magic after something like that happens, isn't it?
Can't fix that. There are certain things in this industry that once you split them up, there's no fixing it. And by the time you realized it was such a wrong thing to do, you can't fix it. And that seeing Hawk and Animal in any other situation than in a tag match as partners just don't work.
And that was the case here. You got Hawk. He's now doing his own thing in WCW during this time. Animal's recovering from an injury later. He's working in Japan, Arn. And then from an interview with Chris Featherstone, Animal talked about that 4-year stretch and how the fans hated the Hellraisers gimmick that he had with Sasaki over in Japan. And it just seemed like everyone wanted the Road Warriors to be back. But WCW decides, we're just going to bring Hawk back without Animal. Do you think that's a mistake?
Huge.
Yeah.
Right away there was just something.
It's not the same.
Hey, it's like having a gravy bowl sitting there with all kind of big lumps of nice chicken or turkey or something cut up in it, and mushrooms, and all the stuff that goes in a gravy bowl. And you crack open a biscuit, and instead of tilting that gravy bowl up, covering them biscuits up, you just let the biscuit sit there.
We are so ridiculous. I'm sitting here thinking it's like not having peanut butter, and jelly together. You're sitting here talking gravy bowl and biscuits. And I'm like, what is our problem, Arn? Do we have an obesity issue? Like, what do we just talked about chicken and hot sauce, and now here we are at a gravy bowl.
Food is one of life's greatest pleasures. And there are some things that just go together. And there are some things that if you tease, they're going to go together, and then they don't. That biscuit went from being steaming and steam coming off of it, and you picture in that gravy bowl, those giblets are going on top. Now it just looks like a dry-ass old piece of bread laying there. That's how our mind works.
It is.
Hawk without Animal, or vice versa, Animal without Hawk. I hate to say it, but it's just two big cat head biscuits cracked open, laying side by side without the gravy.
I've never thought I'd heard that analogy. Oh, it's awesome.
That's the way I see it.
There you go. You got dried biscuit and Hawk, and man, he was a dried biscuit in this match. Let me just tell you, this was not good. But let's talk about the Clash match. Hawk looked completely lost in the ring. Sting literally yelled out a spot towards the end. Clothesline, Hawk. You hear it on your TV speakers. And so then Hawk delivers a weak clothesline. He kind of holds Kurosawa in the corner for a while until they figure out to go home. And then he does a version of the Doomsday device where he kind of falls off the corner and clothesline them. Buddy, you've been in plenty of situations like this probably. When things start to unravel, what's the best way to recover? And
Go home.
Just get it over with.
Go home now.
Would you ever yell out clothesline so that the TV can hear that? Like,
No.
it was that loud.
I would think I would cover the distance between us and get in his ear, whether it was like I was biting his ear or something a little more professional, and give him the spot right there.
Yeah, it was something. I want you guys, that's your homework. Go back and watch the match. Just study and watch Hawk and see if I'm missing something. I want you to watch that opening match. He just feels clunky. He feels lost. And I think that's what got me started. Andrew Hermes, who does the research for the show, both of us were talking about it. And it was like, man, he was really lost in the show. But then you go back and you're like, well, what was going on during this period? And so we wanted to make sure to provide the backstory. But to your point, he was just a dry biscuit waiting for the gravy.
Let me offer this. You just named the four guys. Kurosawa is not going to be a ring general that knows how to fix that. Hawk's not going to be a ring general, knows how to fix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who else was in there?
Ming and Sting. Ming, Sting, Kurosawa.
Ming is just in kill mode. You know, he's not going to be in a situation to fix that. They didn't have a ring general in there to go, hey, this is going south. Here's what we got to do. Let me cover this distance. I'll have Hawk just take my head off and we're done. You know, you didn't have that guy in the match. You know, and that's how important it is. You know, in our business, you know, we've let the cat out of the bag. You know, heels are very critical. And top heels, most of what you see in those days going on in a match was the work of some top heel leading it, or two top heels, the Midnight Express, for example, or the Four Horsemen, for example. They're leading the guys, and they're by the hand, and they're taking them through every step of what they're doing, just because that's the way it was done in those days. And you didn't have that guy or those guys in that match. So as you're watching it, bear that in mind.
Yeah, think about it. That's a good point too. Who is the ring general? And to your point, that's not happening in that ring. So well said. We'll keep moving again too. And I'll say this and we'll move on. We also know Hawk was having some issues here. There was a reason he was let go from WWF, and him and Animal had some problems. We've all heard kind of the story there with, you know, the drug issues and things like that. So there were some things that were happening with him, and that he would battle his demons there for a while. But Hawk, again, to put a bow on this, and Animal, just once they split up, it just really was never the same for those guys in terms of that WCW run, for sure. For Hawk, just did not feel like the road warrior that we had come to know and love at that point.